The No Money But Dreams podcast is for those millennial dreamers
who try to be in the top 1%.
It doesn't matter what we've achieved.
We wake up every morning with the mindset that we're still broke,
We welcome you on our journey in search of that home run.
which can change everything.
Everything?
Everything.
What's up, guys? We're back with another episode of the No Money But Dreams podcast. Today, we're going to talk about scaling your business. Something that I'm very passionate about, Alex is very passionate about, and we have completely different perspectives. He is an entrepreneur, I work in the corporate world, and it's just as important. And it doesn't matter where you sit in an organization, you can think about how can you scale your business. And we want to get into a couple of the stories that we have lived through over the last 10 years to hopefully give you some value, to nudge you to think about something in potentially a slightly different way. So I'll kick off. Alex, I really got involved into your day-to-day when we came back from the US. We wanted to do a business there. Didn't really work out. We came back and we said, we're going to scale your business. We're going to scale Burger 28. You had 2 stores in Abu Dhabi, and now you are across the whole UAE, which you can be really proud of. And I want to get to the people out there, what was the process like? What were the things that you really needed to implement to try and scale your business? So give us a quick overview and I'll keep probing you with more questions.
Okay, so I think the first point that I want to get to is that scalability of a business is becoming increasingly more and more relevant in the 21st century. You look at all the tech companies and the reason why they have these massive valuations, or the reason why these businesses have been able to grow and get so funded, is because they have this element of scalability. Unfortunately, in F&B, when it comes to brick and mortar, it's actually a business which is not that scalable. So let's come back and think about what is scalability. What does scalability mean to you, for example?
For me, it's something where you can just you put $1 in and you get more dollars out.
Exactly.
Right?
X and Y.
Exactly. And you have a brick and mortar business, which means you're probably serving a radius of 5 to 10 kilometers of people that are living close to the store that you can either deliver to or that come to your business.
Yeah.
But that scalability is so important for you because you spend so much money on advertising.
Yeah.
Right? And if you stay within one city, the different platforms, they're not good enough to just focus on Abu Dhabi advertising when you want to serve the whole kind of country.
For
right?
sure.
And you had a very particular story where half of your following, which you spent money for, actually lived outside of your reach and you couldn't really monetize. So you really had to go countrywide.
Yeah.
And going through that process, so how did you then open the 3rd store, the 4th store, the 5th store? How do you now think about opening stores? Is that the right kind of way to go? Are you going more dark kitchens? Give us a little bit of flavor.
So the first point is that when you're looking, you're going specific into Burger 28, but I'm speaking like on sort of like on a higher level, is that when you create a business, you don't know whether it's going to work or not. Okay. Then you have product market fit, which is you have made a product, the market accepts the product. Now we want to scale it because we want to be able to pump the business as hard and as far as possible in order to reach as many customers, which is what you're talking about. Why? Because economies of scale. So if I'm spending 10,000 dirhams on advertising, which was what was taking place when we were just in Abu Dhabi, and 5,000 of that is being spent on people who can't actually come and redeem the product, i.e. come to the restaurant, then there's economic value, there's money wasted and left on the table. So of course you need to figure out how to scale. And also if you're really ambitious, you want to scale a business, you want to grow something quickly. And because originally looking at the brick and mortar, I mean, how long did it take us to find a new location? How many hours were spent looking for that location?
Actually, I want to answer this question because no one knows how difficult that was.
Even you were not quite sure.
No.
You're like, can't we just find a shop? I was like, it doesn't really work like that. There isn't actually like a digital database where you could take a look. You're like, so then what are we going to do? I'm like, you literally have to just drive and look for a for rent sign and then call the number.
And a lot of the times there's not even a for rent sign in the window.
It's just an empty shop.
So what happened to find the third shop?
It's a great idea if you want to create a business.
When we opened the one in Dubai, you showed me a location.
I said, if you find something like this, this is perfect.
Yeah.
And then you're like, ah, I found something. It's exactly the same.
I told you this, but the time until I found this, every
we
Thursday,
had been spending hours and
every
hours.
Thursday for 8 hours a day, we were driving through the UAE, Al Ain, Sharjah, Fujairah, Ras Al Khaimah, Dubai, all sorts of different kind of places.
Just trying to find a location.
To try and find a location.
Yep.
And it took 3 months of doing this every single week until we found one, which is crazy. And that location was actually supposed to be a pizza shop, and the guy that wanted to take it was already there
at the same time,
waiting for the landlord to come and sign the agreement.
And we were waiting there. We're like, no, we'll take it. And the guy's like, you're ready to take it now? We're like, we're ready to take it now. We didn't have the checkbook.
The guy left because he was annoyed that the landlord was taking time.
Yeah, we sat there for 3 hours. We're like, don't worry, we're chilling.
Yeah, a little bit off track here.
But you need to take advantage of those situations, when you know exactly what you need to scale. Anyways, coming back to my business, Burger 28.
Yeah.
So looking at brick and mortar, you have to find the location. Then you have to tender for the contractor. Then you nominate the contractor. Then if you have a good contractor, you're lucky to finish it in 2 or 3 months. You're lucky.
I've not seen that work.
There is one contractor. Let me know. But with us, it took 6 or 7 months.
Yeah. We were like 5 months delayed. Everything is late.
And which is normal. Ask anybody who's in the F&B industry, and they face these issues with the fit out and the MEP, which is the suction and the electricity and the approvals. And all of that takes so long. So you find yourself taking around 6 months to create another distribution point for your product. So basically, it's been 1 year. You've proven that you have product market fit, i.e. people like burgers, like your burger, like your brand.
Yep.
And 1 year later, you only have one other distribution point. And that is so frustrating.
Yeah.
And that sort of comes into why ghost kitchens and dark kitchens have become this industry which has been pumped with a ridiculous amount of funding, is because it just gives you scalability, because you plug in to an existing infrastructure, an existing kitchen.
Yeah, so when you were in Abu Dhabi, it wasn't so complex to run 2 shops. But now when you want to add 3, 4, 5 shops, it's a lot more complexity.
Definitely.
There's a need for people and good people. And when COVID came around, at the beginning, there was a shit ton of people. Then a lot of people left.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you don't have enough people. Even though you want to pay and you want to get right people, there's people with no experience. It was very difficult to get people. So complexity.
And a lot of places are facing that now with COVID. Like especially in Europe and in the US, they can't find enough people to work as waiters, to work in supermarkets and all these different places.
And then there's the capital requirement, which you haven't really mentioned. But yeah, it takes 6 months. But you also have to put so much money of your own money, I guess, if you're not raising so much money in, and you don't really know whether it's going to work in a different city, town, whatever.
Yeah, and raising money as far like angel investors, like you came in and invested 50%, but angel investors wasn't really on my mind. I wasn't really thinking. I had opened Mohammed bin Zayed before 1 year. I had gotten the cash flow to open Airport Road. Airport Road didn't start off as I had anticipated it to start off. It wasn't as busy as I thought it was going to be. So that's a bit of like, you feel a bit, not depressed, but like a kind of like, you feel a bit gutted because you made that decision, So the money factor, the fit out factor, and all this makes scaling so difficult in F&B if you're just focused on the brick and mortar. However, if your strategy now kind of moves towards ghost and dark kitchens, you can scale really, really fast for a lot less money and a lot quicker.
And the other thing that now that you have got 5, 6 different stores, which has increase the complexity again is you came up with this, I want a franchise, I want to go into dark kitchens, I want to go into a different kind of way of doing business.
Yeah.
And how can I do this? And there really the complexity kicked in and said, you know, I need a manual, I need SOPs and all these kind of different things that clearly outline where it's where you can repeat this business anywhere in the world.
Exactly. So that's a really good point, is anybody who is creating their business, and it doesn't necessarily just need to be an F&B, and I think it's even applicable to you, is write down everything that you're doing to build some sort of framework that can then be handed over to someone to take that position. Because in the beginning, especially when you start your own business, you are doing everything. You're doing the accounting, you're doing the marketing, you're doing the sales, you're doing the operations. But if you can kind of build like simple frameworks around this, so how would you train somebody who were to be plugged into the organization, also allows you to scale. And especially like in F&B, to generate X amount of revenue, you need 25 people. You know, it's not like if you're another business where you could do it with 4 or 5 people. So the amount of training and repetition that goes over and over to get people to everywhere be the same, because on top of it, Burger 28 in Abu Dhabi needs to taste the same in Dubai. It needs to be the same service as in Dubai and in Abu Dhabi and Sharjah, etc. So that needs to be exactly mimicked. How can you do that at scale? You know what I mean? And that's why, as you quite rightly said, this model created in the US of franchising became probably the number one method for a restaurant to scale, because you don't need to put the capex, somebody else does. The knowledge, you've already built the knowledge, you have the product market fit, you're selling that to them for an upfront amount, and then they pay you royalties from the revenue. So your risk is actually zero. So looking at that as a way of scaling the business now is definitely on the front of my mind, and definitely something I'm working and investing into, whether that being regionally or even in the UAE. And then also looking at dark kitchens as well. Now, I kind of was reluctant in the beginning in the whole dark kitchen space. We had a bad experience, we won't mention with who, but the amount of money the aggregator takes from you is like 27 to 37% of the top line. I mean, what are you left with? You know, so I really focused my strategy on building the brick and mortar and the infrastructure and the name, so that now in stage 2 of Burger 28's growth, I can really focus in now on the dark kitchens. I've done all the upfront capex. I've built my footprint. I've proven that I can work in multiple markets. You know, so now consolidating and really unlocking all the value by being, let's say you're in Motor City, you're in Business Bay, you're in JLT, you're in one part of Sharjah, every single part of Sharjah. You know, like plugging into all these things will allow me to grow and scale Burger 28 for a fraction of the cost. I've almost done all the hard work, you know? So that's really what I'm focusing on, and kind of how I see the F&B business scaling. But a lot of people now are suffering, thinking that they can just have a dark brand. It's very difficult, because human beings find it hard to build a relationship with something they can't tangibly see, you know? So I really do believe that a lot of restaurants need to have like a hybrid model, where you do have brick and mortar, not necessarily that many brick and mortars, but someone can drive by and then order it anywhere they are in Dubai, kind of thing. You know what I mean? For me, that is the model which really works.
I want to pick up on one of the points that you've mentioned, where you said that everyone needs to write down like processes and that kind of stuff, right? In my world, this is something that is so important, where I've got a sales team of over 50 people speaking to customers, and these people, they're speaking to the customer, but if we don't have a CRM tool where these conversations are being recorded, I don't know anything about the customer. It's all in the head of the employee.
Yeah.
And if that employee goes, that
goes with them.
That goes with them, right? And if then someone else wants to pick up that relationship with the client, we have to start from zero
And
again.
it should be seamless.
And how bad is it for the customer to think, oh, now I have a new relationship manager, I have to tell him all these things again.
Which it is.
Yeah, that's very bad. So when you're scaling a business, I completely agree with you that you need to invest time in things that aren't so sexy. Yeah, you're not like thinking about growth. You're thinking about what system can I implement so that it doesn't matter what people we have in the business, it will still work.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can now exchange any cook, any front of house, any back of house with someone else, because you can just train someone, you've got the procedures, and after 2 weeks they're up and running.
Yeah.
Right? And the same thing, if you're scaling a business, it becomes a lot more complex. Yeah, we know this, and you need to anticipate that complexity and get the right kind of people around you that can help you go to that next kind of step, right? Because, okay, we had talked about you going from one city into 4 or 5 different cities, yeah? But now let's think in the corporate world, when you are a software or tech business and you're trying to go into different continents, right? Dealing with people in Asia is very different from the Middle East, Africa, or the US, right? And I want to bring up marketing here, which is very different from geography to geography. It is the channels that are being used. You know, Europe, for example, in financial services, Twitter is huge.
Yeah.
There's so many people on Twitter. When you go to Asia, no one is on Twitter.
Yeah.
Right? They're on WeChat, they're on Telegram, they're on different kind of platforms. And if you don't bring in-house that kind of expertise from the people on the ground, you will not have the same success as in the geography where you started.
Yeah.
And scaling that business and bringing the right kind of people in marketing, in finance, in HR, in all these different kind of departments, you will not scale at the same rate. And that's really important.
I do think a lot of businesses think that what works in the US, for example, is going to work in Asia. And it's just not the case.
It's not the case. And you can see in really big industries like Uber, for example. Why are there so many Uber clones?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in the UAE, there was Careem, and they bought it for 3 billion. And there's a reason why they couldn't compete with Careem in the same kind of way.
Yeah.
Because, for example, they had cash.
Yeah.
People could pay with cash, which in the US...
Which in the US, they said, no, we don't take cash.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so...
It's like, but what?
There's nuances, the same as with Grab in Southeast Asia. You know, it's huge.
And also, like with Burger 28 as well, you have like the big players like KFC and McDonald's and all these guys, Five Guys, who can't just create something on the menu like that. They can't just make a decision today to add something on the menu to stay relevant. They have to call head office. They have to get approvals, and that makes you cumbersome and slow and things like that. It just came to my mind how it's also relatable.
Yeah, that's being nimble, right? And that's really understanding the market.
Yeah, so how can you be nimble and understand the market when you're entering it and not have this hubris like, oh no, we're Amazon. You know what I mean? Or we're a massive organization. Like, that's cute, you know? Whereas you need to hire somebody who's deep in, who understands the market and can tailor your product to really suit the requirements of the customers in that market.
Yeah, and that can be so many things. That can be marketing, that can be how you speak to customers, that can be your product offering. You know, what are you actually offering? Like, are people interested in trading the same thing? Or do they want to eat something different?
Completely different,
You know, and that's really important to think about. And scaling a business will not work if you don't have the right capital, don't have the right people, don't have the right processes, and also KPIs. Like, let's talk about KPIs for a second. In the sales team, you know, if you have got 5-10 people, you just try and call as many customers as possible, and that's it, right? But when you then get to a level where you have 500,000 downloads a month, you really want to optimize, and you really want to have the right kind of KPIs that the sales team is striving for, because the sales team, they're always smart, right? You give them one KPI and they will find the quickest way to fulfill their KPI. So you better think about, am I giving them the right kind of KPIs, or is this a wishy-washy kind of thing that I just want them to get to work? When you scale, you need to spend time thinking about these things, because that can then really leverage your existing product market fit, as you said, to then scale to a level that you couldn't even imagine.
Yeah. I mean, as an entrepreneur now, I think looking at any other business that I would get involved in, the scalability factor, how easy it is to scale this business, is a massive consideration.
I remember when you came back from Africa, you said, you know, you opened Burger 28 because you didn't want to be dependent on one customer.
Yeah.
And you wanted 1,000 customers.
Yeah.
Right? And now, 5 years down the line, you're now thinking, okay, brick and mortar is nice, and if it works out, I'm definitely a happy man. But I really want to get to a place where I can sell to anyone anywhere at any point in time.
Exactly.
Right? And that is just through experience and through like living through these stages and understanding the advantages and disadvantages of any business that we're involved in.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And I think that the patience factor, finding what's going to be the next, like the right opportunity is something which comes with wisdom, obviously with older age, but it is amazing to see. Like I forgot about those things that I learned, which is have more than one customer, be able to build a brand so you're not selling a commodity. And I think the third thing, I can't remember.
I remember.
What is it?
It's that you get cash up front.
Yes, no credit.
No credit.
Yeah.
Because it screwed you in your previous business.
Completely screwed me.
Yeah. So those are lessons that you have to learn, and that really then help you as well. If you're doing any other business, how can I scale it, and how can I scale it the right kind of way that even during COVID I can survive?
Yeah, and I'm not going to jump into another opportunity now that doesn't have this massive upside potential to be scaled. If I prove product market fit, like every single startup now raises seed money to build a product, let's say, and then they do their Series A, to do product market fit, or let's say their second seed. Once there's product market fit, it's like, how much can you raise? Like, once there's product market fit, it's unlimited how much I can raise.
Yeah.
How much do I want to get diluted? Because if I can prove that this works, I mean, the X on it can be done all over the world, with minimal capex, etc. is just crazy, and that excites me.
Yeah.
So that's definitely what I'm looking for in the next business that I get involved in.
Yeah.
But either way, I think thinking and understanding about scalability, whether it's in the corporate world or as an entrepreneur trying to create your own business, identifying or scaling the business you have, something that everybody needs to spend a little more time thinking about, and taking the time to do the non-sexy things, like write down the framework or your thoughts or your processes in order to get what you want on repetition.
Yeah, you need to train people. You need to
training is the most important thing, but training is repetition, right?
Yes, training people, because I know that you used to be involved into everything yourself, right? And you probably won't find people that do as good of a job in any particular kind of field, because you're the owner and you have the biggest motivation to make it work. But if you can get someone to perform at 60-70% of what you can do, that's still much better than you doing that job, because you can now think about, or you can spend the time finding a new location, doing ghost kitchens, doing franchises, all of that. You now don't need to do the task that you don't want to do anyways anymore. So if you find the right person, you invest training into them, you can now focus on other things. That's the same thing, like when you want to progress in your career. I find it ludicrous that people don't have a succession plan for themselves. Because I can't promote you if I don't have someone else that can do your job. So it should be your job to find someone that can replace you. Within the same team, your friend, I don't care who it is, but help me help you. Right?
Grooming someone to take on the responsibility. So when the position opens and I come to you and I'm like, Tarek, I'm ready to take that next position. Okay, well, who's going to do your job? Is like, well, Tommy over here, I've been teaching him everything and he's fantastic. You should interview him and see what you think. It's important. I mean, that's something which I don't think about at all, really. In my day-to-day.
Cool. I think we had some good points here.
For sure.
I hope you took something away from it. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you very much. See you next time. Take care.
Peace.
Peace.